What's up, guys? This is Sam Talks About Games, and today I'm going to be talking about how I think Nintendo is going to handle the transition to Switch 2. If you like my content, give me a sub. It would help a lot, and I'll keep making content. And I will regardless. So, what I want to get into today is backwards compatibility going to be there? Are there going to be cross-gen games, etc., when it comes to Switch 2? That's going to be the focus of today's topic. So, starting off, what do I think about backwards compatibility? Is it not? Well, I do think it's coming, and I think there's actually some evidence to support that. Now, I would say the Nintendo accounts being carried over is more than enough to support it, but I think that that's not enough. However, we have seen in recent days that the Nintendo Switch Online app is being updated to support another platform. With the 17.0 update for the Nintendo Switch. So at the very least, NSO is being carried over, which is a no-brainer. But it's good that we know that because it shows that they're trying to have somewhat of a smooth with backwards compatibility with Nintendo Switch. Following up with that, I know there's the argument made that, people will just buy ports, people will just buy remasters of current games. I'm going to shoot that down. You could have the current game on the market and have a remaster of it, and people will still buy it. They could still remaster Switch games. Although I think they'd opt out to just remaster GameCube and Wii games throughout the next generation to pad out the releases. So, yeah, no, I don't think that's a solid reason. Third, the new president, Furukawa, he's not very new anymore, but, the president of Nintendo is very business-oriented and a little more traditional than a president like Iwata. So, considering he's very business-oriented and all, I think he would see that backwards compatibility would actually help a transition, obviously, because people would jump ship easier. People would jump to the next console knowing that they're able to without losing their games. They could sell their Switches so they could get the next console for cheaper, etc. I think it's a no-brainer. I think backwards compatibility is going to be there. So, moving on. Cross-gen games. This is something I'm less sure about. So, I think cross-gen games could be there for a little bit, more so than they were for Wii U, obviously. But I don't know if it's going to be much more than, Metroid Prime 4 and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. I feel like they're just going to do a few cross-gen games, and I don't know if they got much more in the bag. I will mention that they have plans up to the fiscal year ending March 2025 when it comes to cross-gen. Or not cross-gen, just Nintendo Switch games in general. So, it's hard to say. But I do think that they're going to try to do a little bit more cross-gen with Switch. I feel like they're going to do what they've been doing. I think they're going to do some ports, like Luigi's Mansion 1 maybe. And that'll also be a Switch 2 game because backwards compatibility. Obviously, Pokemon's going to be cross-gen because it's going to launch on Switch next year. Pokemon takes a while to jump ship. Yeah, I feel like there's a few games that they could do cross-gen. Prime 2 and 3, if those don't drop before Switch 2, etc. I also think that doing cross-gen will help keep the Switch as a second option. 3DS was doing very well throughout 2018. 2019 it really started to drop off. But 2017 and 2018 were pretty good for 3DS. And I feel like they want to do that same thing with Switch. To have Switch as their thing to fall back on just in case Switch 2 flops, which is very, very possible. I don't think it's going to flop, but there's a possibility it does because they've never successfully transitioned to consoles from success to another. It's always been success, then flop. Not flop always, but it's always been success, then less success. For example, 3DS wasn't a flop, but it sold half of what DS sold. So, Wii U was a flop. That was definitely a flop. Super Nintendo wasn't a flop, but it sold less than NES. Every console has sold less than the successful one following it. So I think they're going to try to combat that with the Switch 2, but just in case, they're going to have Switch as that budget console. Yeah, those are my thoughts on cross-gen. I think there's going to be this nice ecosystem of the big new 3D Mario games and Metroid. Well, not Metroid, because that'll be cross-gen. But, the big new 3D Mario games, say, like a new Animal Crossing, a new Mario Kart, those could be next-gen only. But the smaller things, like a Xenoblade X port, Twilight Princess Wind Waker, stuff like that, that doesn't take as much graphical prowess, could run on Switch and Switch 2. And I think that's the approach they're going to take, and I think that's probably the best approach they could take when it comes to this. Furthermore, I think it's best if they have that happening, because cross-gen with PS5 and PS4 has been very unsatisfying for PS5 owners. It feels like only time to get a PS5 was like this summer for Final Fantasy 16 or this fall for Spider-Man 2. There's not a lot of PS5 exclusives, and it's a little unfortunate, but yeah, now they're kind of starting to come in. But throughout 2020, 2021, 2022, everything launched on PS4 as well. And it was like, wow, why do I even own a PS5? So I don't think Nintendo's going to fall into that same trap. But yeah, that's my video today. That's about it. Leave a sub, leave a like, leave a comment. What are your guys' thoughts?